can see we're starting off here. Barry has gotten to this island. What happens is he's gotten some kind of SOS from his daughter Moira. He doesn't know where she is. He just knows that she's gone. She was on this island. So he's managed to track her down to the island, and he wants to find her. Barry did know that whatever this island is, he needed to come prepared. And being an ex-Marine, he did come prepared. He starts off with quite a bit more artillery than Claire and Moira do in their part of the campaign. Although Claire and Moira, they come to the island, they're kind of taken there, and they don't really have a choice, so they start out completely empty-handed. Barry's campaign is going to feature enemies that are even tougher. And just like in past Resident Evil titles, we have ways of combining different items. In this one, you can combine a red herb with a green herb, and that's going to give you 3 green herbs, as you see here. You see these guys here, they're called the Rotten. They're not necessarily zombies. There's something going on with these guys. As you see, Barry's got his trusty knife, so that's at least one way he can try and deal with the enemies without using too much ammo. There's going to be other things he can do as well, though. So for Revelations 2, the dev team very much was aware of, the fact that fans and people expect certain things out of Resident Evil, and that includes, making sure that it doesn't feel too much like an action game. There are things about Resident Evil that people really do feel like, look, this is what makes Resident Evil, and the dev team took that to heart, and for Revelations 1, one of our core concepts, in fact, was that specific thing. That, like, look, people want a return to horror, and we said, all right, we hear you, and we want to do that. And so Revelations 2, being in that same franchise, we wanted to preserve that. We wanted to make sure that that was one of the pillars of this game as well. So we were very, very much under the impression that it would be best for us to design these stages with horror in mind and less of an action focus, so that as you're playing through the stage, you're not gonna just go ahead and just blast through and be able to just get through like that. You're gonna have to really think about, how am I gonna get through this stage? And so you can see here that Natalia has a sixth sense. There's something about her, and that something is that she can sense things. So you can see here that she can sense enemies. She can sense that there's enemies over here, and she also has the ability to sense and find secret items. So she can point them out there, have that nice satisfying sound effect when she finds an item there and reveals it. And as you can tell from the scenario here, what Barry can do one of the ways that he can preserve ammo is if he sneaks up behind enemies undetected, he can then go from behind and stealth kill them like this. So for anybody that wants to be really careful and proceed with caution, they can switch over to Natalia and just kind of lead with Natalia to figure out, okay, where is everything, where are all the enemies at, and then as long as they haven't noticed her, Barry can proceed and, with any luck, take them out stealthily. And then here we have another item combination here. By combining that cloth with the herb, Okabe-san's created a tourniquet. And so what he can do is he can give this to Natalia, and see, now it's in Natalia's inventory. And as you're playing with Barry, if you're getting low on health, she'll go ahead and heal you. And that tourniquet in particular, what that's going to do is there are going to be certain enemies that when they hit you, you're going to start bleeding. It's going to be kind of a special state that the character can be in. As Natalia is sensing these enemies, the color changes, right? What happens is the red enemies are enemies that have noticed you and are coming after you. Enemies that are orange haven't noticed your presence yet. You'll notice here that as Okabe-san's controlling Natalia, the AI does control Barry. And one thing that you can do is kind of point at enemies are there, and Barry at least know, what he's supposed to be aiming at. Let's say you're controlling Natalia and you end up getting hit enough that she passes out. So she could potentially pass out, in which case she doesn't die. That's not a game over for you. It's just that as you then have to switch over to Barry and go pick her up. And another portion of the partner gameplay involves basically telling your partner whether to go somewhere or to stay somewhere. And so what you can do is hold in the triangle button, and then by hitting either up or down.
Just stay there.
And you might have just heard him here. He said, "Stay there," and she said, "All right, I'm going to stay there." So you can do that. And then, well, that doesn't just apply to her or him to her either. She can actually do the same thing. So you can switch over to Natalia, tell Barry to stay, and he'll be the obedient old man, as it were. And so you can use that strategically. I mean, there are going to be certain puzzles where that's going to come in handy, but then also let's say that you're fighting against some enemies and you don't want Natalia to come around and put herself in danger, so you can tell her, okay, look, stay over here. I'm going to go deal with this. And for anybody that's seen anything from Claire and Moira's portion of episode 1, this is actually the same prison that they were in. So we're in the same prison, but Barry's entered from a different place. Another one of Natalia's special things is that or at least what makes her different from Barry, is that she's small enough that she can crawl through these little holes. So there's certain areas that she's going to have access to. And here we're finally seeing what kind of weapon she can use. She can use these bricks that she finds and picks up, and she can bash zombies with the bricks, or she can throw them at the zombies. Sorry, not as zombies, the rotten. And just like in raid mode, we have these workbenches that you can go up to, and you can, when you find parts, you can install those parts or remove those parts from your different weapons. Well, there's this mysterious blade, spinning blade thing in the way that Okabe-san's gonna have to figure out a way to stop in order to proceed. And so that spinning blade thing, just like this bed that you see here, seem to be some kind of torture devices that, for whatever reason, are just laid all throughout this island. And the only other thing we know about this island so far is that it seems to be controlled by somebody that calls herself the Overseer. And you notice here that since Natalia has this ability to sense things, she can also sense these little hints that, well, she can go over here. That's not something that Barry notices. All right, and it looks like he's found a way to stop the blades from spinning, so now he can go back through the spinning blades from before. This torture device here is actually a flamethrower, and what happens is, depending on what you do, how you get through different puzzles and portions of Claire and Moira's scenario, things change in Barry's scenario. And so what we have here is, depending on how you played through Claire and Moira's scenario, that thing would have been on and actually would have been facing the doorway, in which case you would have had to figure out a different way to get through. Unfortunately, it looks like the bridge has fallen out, as it were, so Barry's gonna have to find a way around.
End of the line.
What do we do?
Yeah, Barry, you can see that Barry clearly cares. You know, he wants to make sure that Natalia is getting through everything safe here. Seems to be a decent enough father in any event.
Shh. Stay back.
Part of it was just that, all right, it's been way too long. How much longer can we go without using Barry anymore? This needs to happen. Honestly, but from the beginning of the development for this particular game, we knew from the get-go that we wanted to use both Claire and Barry on this one.
Hey,
Yeah, it looks like Natalia has sensed something else.
What's wrong?
I think I saw something.
That doesn't look good.
Stay back, Natalia.
Monsters coming.
And so this is the Revenant. And as you can see here, Natalia's got the ability to sense where their core is. So using Natalia, you can sense that, you can find that, and then you can switch back to Barry and try to take out the core before he takes you out. Too late. You are dead, Okabe-san.